With the brave astronauts of Artemis II back on Earth, I thought I would use this week's reel to clear up a frequent misconception. No, I'm not talking about the flat Earth stuff. There's no hope for those people. No, I want to talk about the difference between acronyms, initialisms, and acrostics. Artemis II was a project by NASA, which hopefully most of you know is an acronym. Some of you may even know it stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It does not stand for, say, No Astronauts in Space, Audrey. Audrey is the one trying to convince her second cousin who steals copper wire that the moon landings are not fake. Anyway, but what is an acronym? Simply put, it is a word created by taking the first initials of the words in a longer term. The word NASA, for example, was created specifically to identify this organization. If somebody is going to do something ASAP, that means they're going to do it as soon as possible. YOLO means you'll only live once, although people who use this term unironically should probably be saying you only live briefly. But y'all doesn't sound very good. And of course, GIF means graphics interchange format. And yes, I know the creator of the format pronounces it GIF. That just shows that he's an expert at computers, not at language. It's not pronounced graphics, Steve. And anyway, GIF was already taken. Now, some acronyms cheat a little bit and use more than just the first letter of the word, often for the sake of pronunciation. The National Biscuit Company, for example, shortened their name to Nabisco instead of NBC, because they're afraid of peacocks. Geico is another one. It started as Government Employees Insurance Company. They kept the co from company because the gecko just would sound ridiculous. But then there's stuff like FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A lot of people refer to this as an acronym, but technically it's not, because it's not making up a word. You're pronouncing each letter individually. FBI. You're not saying the B. When you pronounce each letter separately, that's not an acronym. That's what's called an initialism. CIA, KGB, KFC, NFL, NBA, MLB, UPN. Ask your parents about that last one, kids. Now, outside of both acronyms and initialisms are acrostics. Acrostics work similarly to acronyms. It takes the first initial of a word, but in the case of an acrostic, it's spelling a real word instead of a made-up word like with an acronym. When you say GOAT instead of greatest of all time, that is technically an acrostic. When you shorten Keep It Simple Stupid to KISSed, that's an acrostic. Sometimes you write a whole line instead of just one word. A lot of you probably did these kind of acrostic poems in elementary school. It's a popular project for beginning creative writing students. You may even have done an abecedarian, which is an acrostic poem that, rather than spelling a word, puts the lines in alphabetical order. But I may be getting too deep into this. What I really like are acronyms that become so widely known that people tend to forget that they're acronyms. Laser, for example. We all know what a laser is. It's that thing you use to torment your cat. But a lot of you might not remember that LASER originally stood for light amplification by simulated emission of radiation, or that the word scuba in scuba diving actually means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Radar cheats a little bit. It's radio detection and ranging, but radar would not sound very good. My favorite, though, is TASER, because it gets its name from a science fiction book. In 1911, the Stratemeyer Syndicate, and that's going to be a whole nother video someday, published a children's novel called Tom Swift's Electric Rifle. This was the 10th book in a very popular kids' adventure series at the time, kind of like, Goosebumps or Captain Underpants today. In this book, Tom, a super genius, invents a pew-pew that has the ability to fire concentrated bolts of electricity. Fast forward 60 years and Jack Cover invents a device that does something very similar, and he names it after Thomas A. Swift's electric rifle. So the next time you're watching Phineas and Ferb and you see Perry the Platypus report for duty at AUKA, the organization without a cool acronym, you'll know that it is both right and wrong. It's right in that AUKA is an acronym because it's not a real word. On the other hand, by association with Perry, AUKA is pretty cool. So, what does Perry the Platypus say? We'll work on it.